Yes, guys, what's up? So, right, so Amir Khan recently in the Devin Alexander press conference made a statement, and it really got me thinking. I can't remember who did the interview, but someone did the interview, um, and Amir said, "Look, this division, the 147 division, is a very stacked division, and Amir Khan and Devin Alexander. I mean, who has Devin Alexander lost against? Sean Porter and Timothy Bradley." Am I correct? Is that they're the only official losses on his record? Amir Khan has lost to Danny Garcia, Bruce Prescott, and Lamont Peterson, who's on roids. So I don't count Lamont Peterson as a loss. Really, Amir Khan's only got 2 losses, legit, 2 knockout losses. Lamont Peterson, I don't even count that. If you count that, you're an idiot, because Amir won that fight, irrespective of the 2-point deductions. Right, but anyway. So, they've really only both got 2 losses on their records, right? Both top 147 fighters, whichever way you swing it. Both come up from 140. And Amir said something. He said, win or lose in the 147 division, there's so many top guys out there that we can just continue to fight each other. You know, there are going to be losses. Like, say Devin loses to Amir. Does that mean Devin's career is over? No, this is boxing, right? People need to understand this. That 0 means nothing, okay? If Mayweather digs through the entire 147 division and fights them all, like 6 fights a year, right? Fights Kell Brook first, following Amir Khan, following Manny Pacquiao, following Juan Manuel Marquez, following Devin Alexander, following Timothy Bradley, following Diego Chavez, following Saddam Ali, following Marcus Delchino Maidana for a 3rd time, following I don't know who else is there in the 147 division, but I don't know, Ruslan Provodnikov. Okay, the point I'm making is Floyd Mayweather will lose eventually. In my opinion, I think he will lose to one of these fighters because there's so many different styles, and they are, so many of them are at a very, very high level. You know, you could put a bunch of these in the pound for pound list, a bunch of them, you know, and they belong there. And the thing is this, that I personally feel that if a fighter loses, I think that boxing is changing back to the old school. I've been reading a lot of articles how boxing it has gone back on Channel 5 in the UK. Boxing is going back to mainstream TV, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's good. I think it's really healthy because I feel that boxing needs to work on getting the fighters out there rather than just concentrating on pay-per-view. Because when you have just pay-per-view doesn't allow too much exposure for fighters. You need to, and when you're just on one channel, which isn't free, it's difficult, blah, blah, blah. I think that fighters need more exposure nowadays, okay? There's not many mainstream crossover boxers nowadays. There are a few, but there needs to be more. It's not on the level of football. I think it can be, and I don't see why it can't. You know, boxing does not pale in terms of excitement or anything, right? When it comes to the actual sport itself, it's a very good sport. People do like it. People just don't watch it that much because they don't know about today's fighters that much. You know, now we have the 147 division is the stacked division right now. It is the in division, and I think this personally. Oh, Keith Thurman, boom, another big fighter. I totally forgot about 147. The main fighter 147, Keith Thurman, and it's like, so say Devin Alexander loses, okay? Now that would mean he's had a loss against Bradley, recently Sean Porter, and then recently Amir Khan. What does that do to Devin? Would that mean that Devin is totally out of the 147 division? No, because Devin can easily come back and fight someone like Diego Chavez in his next fight, and then following fight Keith Thurman. And if he beats Keith Thurman, is Devin Alexander not boom right back up there? And if Keith Thurman loses to Devin Alexander, would that mean that Keith Thurman is totally out of the mix? No, because Keith Thurman is a knockout artist. He's a brilliant fighter, and you know, say Keith Thurman fights Manny Pacquiao. If Thurman lost, and I know some of these fights can't be made because of Al Heyman issue and Top Rank issue and Golden Boy issue, but some of these fights can get made, right? And I'm not going to be thinking about that. I'm just speaking at the top of my mind, right? And I'm just saying, if say Thurman lost to Mayweather, okay, or Pacquiao, whichever, right? Would that mean that he's totally out of the mix? I mean, boom, he fights Maidana, he's back in. You know, he fights Chino, he's back, and he beats Chino, he's back in. Same with Maidana. Maidana fights, I don't know, Maidana fights Pacquiao, say, right? Let's just say Maidana fights Pacquiao, Maidana loses. He's not finished. He can easily, like, 2-3 losses and they can still come back. If they have a second or a third loss against a lower level fighter, then no, it's going to be very difficult to get the star power back. But it's still a very exciting division. You will always watch Kell Brook, Amir Khan, Devin Alexander, Tim Bradley, Pacquiao, Mayweather, Thurman. And you know what? This whole zero thing, it really needs to stop, because I think it stems from the fans. The fans hype up the people with the zero too much. Sugar Ray Robinson lost. Ali lost. Okay? Every single great fighter in history has lost. Okay? If a fighter hasn't lost, it's simply because they cherry pick. That's the truth of it. That's the bottom line. Ray Robinson, had he not fought certain styles and had he picked easier fights for himself, he would have been undefeated. He was 128-1. 128-1, and the guy who he lost to, he rematched, I think, about 4 times and beat Jake LaMotta. He whooped him. So, or maybe even 6 times, I don't know how many times, but it was, you know, he whooped him in the rematches. But Ray Robinson in his prime was 128-1. But zeros don't. I mean, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. was 89-0 at one point. Eventually, he lost, whether it was because of age or whatever, right? But the point is, zeros in boxing, people need to really get over it. I think it was a very interesting statement Amir made that, you know, win or lose, these fighters, their future's bright because they're going to fight each other and there will always be losses in boxing. You have to understand that. When Tim Bradley, if he faces Danny Garcia and loses, Tim Bradley is still a brilliant fighter, okay? And I know not all of these fighters have a zero, but, you know, 2-3 more losses will appear on a lot of people's records in the 147 division in the next 5 years. It doesn't mean they're finished. They're going to have to fight each other and you know, someone's going to have to stand up as the best. But, you know, when you have a stacked division, you have losses. Look at the Ali, Fraser, Foreman era. Look at it. It was a brilliant era. It was a wonderful era. Look at Ray Leonard, Hearns, Hagler, and Duran. Beautiful era of boxing. Beautiful boxers, right? And look at the era. They all had losses, you know. So let me know what you think. Leave your comment section below. Subscribe as always. In a stacked division like this, when there are losses, it doesn't mean squat. Let me know what you think in a bit, guys.